Now here's a curious piece. This is Sugar Ray Robinson outside the Roxy on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. It's another Bob Marley and the Wailers show, which I imagine probably took place after the main concert at the Santa Barbara show. Bob and the Wailers are playing a benefit for Sugar Ray Robinson's foundation, which provides artistic facilities and sports facilities for kids all over LA. Now the reason this is so odd is that we don't actually have the show in question, but we do have the opinions of the fans who are on their way to it. It's a kind of United Nations mix of fans. You see how broad the mix of Bob's fans were in those days in Los Angeles. Black, white, Japanese, people who look like Rod Stewart, people who look like cowboys. But what's really interesting is what they have to say. This is how Bob was perceived. And there's a black girl, for example, who describes Bob as Rasta Gospel, which I thought was absolutely great. There's a black guy who says that Bob is promoting the third world, and in the end, the third world is going to annihilate the first and the second worlds. This is what he's thinking in 1979. And also, at the end of it, when Sugar Ray Robinson says, peace and love, that's what it's all about. This is so great. This is so great from the boxer who trained with Joe Louis.
It's just, oh yeah, movement of the people.
So there's been an awful lot of interest in Bob's music and Bob's message to you know, kids all over the world, and trying to bring peace and all that. Do you have any feelings about what Bob Marley stands for in terms of what?
Well, what the work that he's doing is really potential, and I'm very happy, and I think he's a heck of a guy.
We the generation.
Bob Marley has grown, you know. Bob Marley is more locked now. He is more conscious of himself, you know, and his responsibility as far as a musician is concerned, as far as representing Rastafarianism is concerned. And he knows that Rastas are looking at him. And I think to Bob Marley, that is the most important thing to him. You know, even though his market commercially is white people, you know, Rastafarians are still looking at him, and he has to come to the Rasta line if he's going to keep saying, Jah Rastafari.
The music is great, but he also has a great message in the fact that he's talking about the plight of the Jamaican people, and that they do feel a great bond towards Africa, and just to be free.
We know where we're going. We know where
I think it's been a slow train coming for people like Bob Marley, Dylan, and I just think that it's good hearing some kind of different type music.
in this exodus. Movement of the people.
He's talking about the third world, and that's very important in this day and time because they're going to totally eliminate the first two.
What do you think that white people can learn from his music?
I have no idea, not being a white person, you know. I know really I wouldn't be able to speak for what white people can get out of Bob Marley's music.
I know it's really inspirational. It's made me wake up to a lot of things. It made me very happy.
The movement of the people.
It's too bad living in a city like LA that everything is based on money and the input as far as what they can give to somebody else. And you do have a very potential great star that puts out very good music and has a great message, and they refuse to play it.
I think Bob Marley's message is toward universal peace, which I think is very good.
Well, I think to black people it's about liberation. It's Jah music. I called it oftentimes gospel music. In fact, I have a running argument with my staff at work that Bob Marley sings gospel songs, you know, and it's Rasta gospel.
Captives free.
Reggae music is very popular in Japan, so, and Bob Marley is the king of reggae.
Jimmy Cliff, Steel Pulse, Peter Tosh, I realize.
Well, I think that's what it's doing. It's bringing a lot of people together, keeping us together, which is what we need right now.
Peace and love.
Yeah, all right, old buddy.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. That's the name of the game.
This film of Bob Marley at the Santa Barbara County Bowl in California was filmed in 1979. Bob had actually played there once before in 1976. It's a beautiful natural amphitheater in the heart of Californian affluence. But the tour that this was part of had started with 7 dates at the Apollo in Harlem. Part of the reason for doing this tour, in fact, was to get Bob across to black audiences in America who had singularly avoided his enormous influence up to then. I mean, he was playing very much to white audiences. It was a huge, exhausting tour to promote the Survival album. There were 47 dates in 49 days, and Bob was running on nervous exhaustion for much of the time. Bob was always a phenomenal performer, but you forget about that sometimes when you're just playing his records. But you notice one thing about Bob was the hand gestures, the on-stage hand gestures. It's not just the shaking of the locks, it's the dramatics, the almost melodramatics of his postures, so that he could get across to these huge audiences, so the people right at the back could see what he was doing. So he'd be clawing at his face almost. But on the other hand, his smile at the end of Crazy Bald Heads is worth the price of the DVD alone. There's a dozen musicians on stage. There in fact should be 13, but it's not the I3, in fact, it's the I2. Marcia Griffiths is missing, and it's only Rita Marley and the very gorgeous Judy Moat up there. There's a flow to this whole show, and by the time it really hits its stride with Exodus, which is just as the sun is setting, you feel, you know, you're almost in heaven. And in fact, in comparison with Bob Marley live at the Rainbow, and it might be just that I've seen that show so many times, I really rather prefer this. This hasn't been available for a long, long time. What's different from the original version of the concert that came out on video is the addition of 6 new songs. There's Concrete Jungle, Wake Up and Live, then Bellyful But Them Hungry, Ride Natty Ride, Is This Love, and So Much Things to Say. They're a great addition to what was already a fantastic performance. Also included on the DVD is an extra titled Prophecies and Messages. Now this comes from one of those press conferences that Bob did with Tyrone Downey, the keyboard player. This particular press conference is one of matters strictly Rastafari, and Bob does actually come out with a statement, and it's the first time that I've ever seen him do this. He actually states, yes, Haile Selassie was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. He actually does say this. And there are many more arcane Rastafarian references. For example, Bob states quite clearly that, you know, the apocalypse is coming. We're living in it now, really, he says. And that only 12,000 people from each of the 12 months of the year, in other words, the 12 tribes of Rastafari, will survive this. 144,000 people in the highest heights will survive this. This is a central tenet of Rastafarian thinking. But what I really love about this is, which is almost the final statement of all of it, really, soon we'll find out who are the real revolutionaries.